that the transaction entails. If you look at the investment side of things, on the other hand, I think most people are still experiencing a shortage of investment alternatives that are structured on a Sharia-compliant basis. A number of new products have been introduced. As Sheikh Nizam mentioned, there are Sharia-compliant mutual funds based on Islamic equity screens developed by Dow Jones and some other institutions. Citi has developed a Sharia-compliant Sukuk index, which is basically tracking the returns of a number of Sukuks that have been done in the market. Somebody could structure a product which gives returns linked to that portfolio, which would be akin to a fixed income bond index in the conventional world. Similarly, there are other products like structured investment notes, capital protected equity linked notes, which are structured on a Sharia compliant basis. So there are options, but still, leading on to the, in fact, second question, there is still a very large pool of liquidity which is, lying in conventional products, particularly in the private banks, for lack of a credible Islamic alternative. Our estimate is that the private bank market is roughly about 15% of the total Islamic assets under management. But there is perhaps an equal amount, if not larger, lying in conventional current accounts or conventional Swiss bank accounts, which could potentially be converted into Islamic financing or Islamic investment products if a good enough alternative was offered to these investors. So there's still significant scope for conversion of some of these products from conventional into their Islamic equivalents under proper contracts that are Sharia acceptable. Now, the other question was, one of the questions related to bankruptcy costs under Islamic finance. Any Islamic contract is not just governed by the principles of Islamic finance, but also by the law of the jurisdiction in which the issuer and the investors are based. So bankruptcy-related treatment of these contracts and, in fact, legal recourse of these contracts is very similar to what happens in the legal system generally in that particular country. There has been case law established in which the courts of England, for example, have ruled that the nature of the obligation that is established is no more or no less than what would happen in the conventional banking system. So the legal framework would still apply for the country in which the issuer or the company that goes bankrupt is based, and the treatment of those contracts would be done in a similar way under that same legal framework. I think I will also take a crack at some of the other questions related to tax implications of sukuk structures. This is a very important subject, and frequently whenever we go into new jurisdictions, we have to grapple with a lot of tax and regulatory issues which arise as a result of the transfer of assets either within the same jurisdiction or from one jurisdiction to another. And an example of that is when we did the first sukuk issue out of Europe for the German state of Saxony-Anhalt. They used actually by coincidence, they used their tax office buildings as the underlying asset. And those assets needed to be transferred to an issuer SPV in the Netherlands for the structure to be tax neutral. If they were transferred to an SPV based in Germany, then the state in this case would have had to pay some federal taxes. In some countries, this issue has been resolved, and indeed, UK has also introduced tax legislation which equates the Islamic capital market structures to their conventional equivalents from a tax point of view. Singapore has done the same, Malaysia has done the same, and in most of the GCC countries, this is not really an issue. On the point regarding Islamic finance and how these institutions are dealing with environmental issues and participating in some of the issues related to the carbon theory, etc. We've like international institutions are governed by the same principles. So if you're participating in an initiative on the conventional side, which is linked to the environment, then we follow the same guidelines and policies on the Islamic window as well. This is generally an institution-specific question. Some of the local banks are still not aware of these issues, and they're perhaps not as proactively participating in them. But the policy is driven by the individual institution itself. It's not a general approach for the industry as such that we can point towards. Let Sheikh Nizam comment on these questions as well as some of the ones specific to Sharia.
A general observation which the issue of tax brought to my mind is that those brothers, and some scholars who ask that, why these sukuk and these instruments and these financially engineered products are not exactly resembling some contracts of fiqh, 1,000 years ago or so exactly. So this is an issue because, see, now you have laws, you have taxes, you have other issues. So you have to, when you design something, you have to comply with all these things. And sometimes in not one jurisdiction, but also in many jurisdictions, multiple jurisdictions. So some people, one brother criticized the creation of SPVs. He said, why you are putting so much SPV? These are all fictitious companies. I told him this is not our requirement. It's the requirement of tax, the requirement of the legal institution. So that should be taken into consideration also because people want to also be tax efficient. Quickly to the questions. The non-Muslims, how to attract them? Well, good service and competition, like anything. And of course there is evidence that there are many, because Islamic banking is not only for Muslims, it is banking done in compliance with Sharia, but it is open to everybody and everybody is welcome. But if you want to attract people, then good service and competition. In Malaysia, there are many Chinese communities who participate. For example, in Dubai, we shifted a bank. It was a conventional bank, and then we shifted it to an Islamic bank. Most of the clients were non-Muslims, and they remain still till today, and because they gave them good service and good competitive rates with others. Advice for students. Well, those students who are not from the Sharia background, lawyers, finance students, business students, banking, and I advise them to encourage them to take courses in Islamic finance if available. There are tests now like the Islamic qualification test available even in UK here, Islamic finance qualification test, and so on and so forth. Those who are from the background of Sharia, I advise them to concentrate in understanding modern legal systems and improve their linguistic capabilities to read different languages which are important in modern finance, and also to increase their knowledge of finance and basic financial engineering tools. This will be very helpful to them if they want to enter into this field in the future. Plus, read a lot of cases. Like any lawyer, good lawyer, you have to read the precedent cases. So you have to read the fatwa, which is available now. Many of them are available online. The Islamic banking rulings and fatwas and verdicts and responses. Many of them are published and available in different languages. Our colleague Sheikh Yusuf Talal de Lorenzo has done an excellent job in translating 3 volumes, the compendium of the Islamic finance fatwas. It's in 3 volumes, and the text, the Arabic text and the English text are, jointly together there. So you can read both Arabic and English. So it's also a good exercise in your Arabic, if your Arabic is not your mother tongue. With regards to financing on profit and loss and bankruptcy, bear in mind that to finance a business, it's not necessarily that always you finance it through profit and loss. You can finance through sale contract. You can finance through lease. So there are many ways. The profit and loss, this is if you mean mudaraba or musharaka, that is one of the modes. But there are other modes which at the end will create a debt instrument, and then you can be pari passu in bankruptcy with all other debtors, whether Islamic or conventional at that time. So this is one. Madahib, the different schools of Islamic law